Hi, this is Matt for newshooter.com, and today I'm going to be looking at the Convergent Design Odyssey 7Q. Now, this was a product that was released just prior to NAB earlier in the year, and I've been itching to get my hands on it ever since. It was supposed to come out slightly earlier, and it hasn't started shipping just yet, I don't think, but by the time this review is up, you should be able to get one in your hands. Now, I am going to apologise up front because this review is going to be quite long. If Convergent Design hadn't packed so many features into the 7Q, then this review would be a lot shorter, but there's an awful lot to get through, so let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, this device is a high quality monitor. It features a 7.7-inch 1280 by 800 OLED display. Now, on paper, it stacks up exactly the same as some of the other high quality monitors out there that are on the market. So how does it actually perform? So specs on a piece of paper are one thing, but how does this actually perform in the real world as a monitor? Well, I'm very impressed by it. It features nice rich blacks, good contrast, the color reproduction is very accurate. It's pretty good outside in bright conditions, although it's not going to work in full sun. Just like most other monitors out there on the market, you'd need to look at something else if you were going to do that. I'm still not quite sure yet whether they are going to include a sun hood or as an optional extra a sun hood in some regards to use for this device. That's something I'll get back to you about once I've spoken to Convergent Design. Now, not only is this a fantastic monitor, but of course it's an external recorder. And that's what sets it apart from a lot of the other devices out there on the market. I'm going to go into those recording options soon, but first I'm going to talk about build quality. Now, from the original versions that I first saw, the prototypes that were displayed at NAB and subsequently after there, this is now the production version. And I'm very impressed with the build quality here. It's very well made, it's tough. The casing feels like it could take a lot of drops. And it's very thin, this particular device. And it doesn't weigh much, which is the surprising thing to me. It's actually very light, considering everything that's going in there. If you don't have to put a external battery pack on there, if you want to power it off a different type of powering system like I've got sitting here, this device is really, really light to use. Now, some products out there are really well built, just like this one, but their interface system can be a pain to use. Now, I was really impressed with the interface and the ease of operation of using the 7Q. Everything is touchscreen. Everything is sort of idiot-proof, if I may use that expression, because it's very easy to go in, change things, to work out, to see what's doing. It doesn't really require you to, as a guy, we don't like to use the instruction manuals. You don't really need to use the instruction manual with this device. It's pretty well simplistic and really intuitive, and that's what I like about it. Now, while the Odyssey 7Q is a very capable OLED monitor, where it really hits its strides is being used as an external recorder. Now, there's a lot of external recorders out there on the market, and what stands this one apart is its ability to record signals from anything from a DSLR all the way up to something like an Arri Alexa, and it can also record a wide range of RAW formats as well at a very affordable price. Now, as standard, it comes with the ability to be able to record uncompressed Dpx files. So what I mean by that is that you can input in a 422 camera signal from any type of camera really, and it will record it as a 444 Dpx file. So anything that's 422 gets upconverted to 444. Now, just in saying that, these are not very small files, these are very large files, so don't expect to grab this unit and start using it and have very small files and not take up a lot of space, because this unit will take up a ton of space, even using the Dpx uncompressed. Now, there is some compressed codecs that are on their way. A very popular one will be implemented shortly, so that will really help this unit in terms of people wanting to keep their file sizes and media to a minimum. Now, Dpx files are supported natively in programs like Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, and many others. If you're using something like Final Cut Pro or Final Cut Pro 10, Avid Media Composer, there is some paid plugins that you can buy to use Dpx files natively in those NLEs. Now, the Odyssey 7Q uses 2.5-inch SSDs. Now, they have to be proprietary Convergent Design SSDs. I mean, these have been factory tested and they're server grade, so they're designed specifically to be used with this unit. So if you have something like a power failure or anything, for instance, you can recover the files using an option on board here. They're very robust. They come in two different sizes, 256 gig and also 512. Now there's 2 slots on here, so you can have 2 lots of media. So if you're recording, say, high frame rate material, it'll actually span across 2 drives. And also, you can also use this system to go RAID 1, so you can record to one SSD and then it will back up to make a second copy onto this one here. Or if you're recording and this one runs out, it'll simultaneously record over in uninterrupted files onto the second SSD. And there's a bunch of free programs that I'll talk about a bit later that Convergent Design implements and gives you for free, so that you can use to manage your media and to look after things where they've been striped over 2 disks. Now my only small complaint about these SSDs is that they are a little bit hard to get out once you put them in here. There's a little tab at the back that you press in to pull the SSD out, but it's very tricky and they get caught in there. I wish they had made this a little bit easier, maybe with some type of eject button or something. Also, this bit of plastic that's on the top to pull them out is, is a little bit lightweight for my liking. I think, if I was struggling pulling this out, I'd be worried that this would actually break and then my SSD would get stuck in the unit. Now, as far as the codecs go, you can rent or purchase them. I mean, this was sort of a clever thing that Convergent Design did, as far as I'm concerned. I think the end user doesn't really want to pay for all these codecs like ARRI RAW, Canon RAW, the Sony RAW, all these things, because you have to pay, Convergent Design will have to pay for the licenses to use these codecs. So if they put them all on the unit as free, then the cost of the unit's going to substantially go up, probably for a lot of people it's going to be unaffordable. At least in this case, if you're a rental house or you're someone who's renting or using a variety of different cameras, you can take this out. Then you can actually just rent or buy that codec for a specific point of time. So what you do currently is you can ring up or email to get the codec installed, or get the license activation, I should say, to fire up and use that particular codec. Say it was ARRI RAW, for instance. I had to hire an Alexa and I wanted to use the ARRI RAW codec. Then I can ring up or email and get the codec activation code and then put it in, and I can buy it in blocks of time, and then it doesn't start activated until I've actually put it into the unit and want to use it. So I can pre-buy it in advance if I have to, and then just activate the time I need when I'm actually on set. Now they are going to change that. There is an online store coming very shortly. It may even be out by the time this review gets online, so you'll be even easier. It'll be 24/7 worldwide access. As long as you've got an internet connection, you'll be able to go on and buy the codecs you need. Now this will support ARRI RAW, Canon RAW, the Sony FS700 in 2K high-speed frame rates. It won't currently do the 4K RAW, and I'll go into some reasons why it can't do that a little bit later on. So for those Sony FS700 owners out there who are very excited about the Odyssey 7Q and its ability to be able to record 4K RAW, well, you can't just yet, and there's a reason behind that. Now, I've been in close contact with Convergent Design, and I'll read you their official, the official word that they gave back to me, just so it's word for word, so I'm not making any of this up. Currently, the Odyssey 7Q is not allowed by Convergent Design's licensing agreement with Sony to record the 4K RAW output from the Sony FS700. The Odyssey 7Q can record the 2K RAW output at up to 240 frames per second continuously. This is not the end of the story for 4K for the FS700. The Odyssey 7Q will soon have the ability to record a popular compressed video codec. When that is available, the Odyssey will accept the 4K RAW data, debayer it and transform it into a high quality 4K video source, and then record this video in the popular codec. Now they can't tell me what this codec is, but we can pretty much have a guess, and I'm going to say it's going to be ProRes, even though they can't officially tell me. This will be enabled up to the highest frame rate of 4K the FS700 can output, which is 60 frames per second. In many ways, this is more desirable than RAW to many, as it will require drastically less memory to store the material. Now this is another very important thing too. RAW is great, but it does take up an awful lot of space and it requires an awful lot of data storage. I mean, I've used the R5 on my F55 before, and the file sizes and the storage are just enormous. Much of the advantages of RAW can be realized with a high quality S-Log2 video image. The Odyssey 7Q will also be able to similarly transform the 2K RAW into video as well, into that particular codec. Another way the Odyssey 7Q utilizes the 4K RAW output of the FS700 is to generate a higher quality HD image than the camera creates on its own. In HD video mode, the signal recorded onto the camera's internal media or output via the HDMI or SDI ports is only 8-bit 422, which is a very limited color space and depth. When attempting to color correct such a signal, banding and other artifacts can quickly occur. By starting with the original 4K RAW data output from the camera, the Odyssey 7Q can generate a 10-bit 444 video signal, which allows for far greater range in color correction. Currently, the 7Q only outputs this signal via its SDI ports, but an imminent firmware update will allow recording of it to the Odyssey SSDs. So this is coming very soon. If Sony does not allow Convergent Design to record the 4K RAW data directly, it is a functionality that can be immediately implemented via a firmware update. So Convergent Design can actually do the 4K RAW from the Sony, they just haven't been allowed to do it. That function will be immediately implemented via a firmware update. Any Odyssey 7Q owner who purchased the FS700 recording option will receive this expanded capability free of charge. So when it comes in, if you've already paid to do the 2K RAW, you will get this, you get the 4K as well. Lastly, Sony has asked Convergent Design not to use the Sony proprietary RAW file format for the data. So the Odyssey 7Q transforms this information into Cinema DNG file sequences. These files are easily read in various software such as the free Resolve software from Blackmagic Design. So that's all from Convergent Design there. So if you are an FS700 owner, you may feel frustrated that this hasn't come out yet, but they are working very hard to make it happen. And I think in some ways, I would actually prefer the RAW, the non-4K RAW in a lot of cases, and have a compressed version of 4K because it's just a lot easier to deal with. I record 4K XAVC on my F55 and it's real easy to use it with most NLEs, and it's a real nice, easy workflow, and the data and file sizes are very manageable. So hopefully we'll be seeing that'll come into the Odyssey 7Q when you're using your FS700. So I hope that answers your questions about the problems and what's going on with the Odyssey 7Q and the Sony FS700. Now let's have a look at the features and the functionality of the Odyssey 7Q. Now the first thing obviously is power. Now it uses this little 3-pin Nutric power cable here that they've redesigned to fit in. It's quite a cool little thing. It doesn't look like it'll move around. Now there's other ways of powering this particular device. This is running to a DTAP. They make a cable that goes from DTAP, Antoine Bauer, XLR 4-pin, etc, etc. You can also power this from the back. They make their own lithium-ion battery that'll run for about 3 or 4 hours, and also a universal charger will charge that battery. That battery will charge in about 3 hours, and you just Velcro it on the back as well. There is also another third-party company that is making some mounts for these. There's an Antoine Bauer and a IDX mount plates. Also as well, they're making a Sony, a JVC, Canon and Panasonic little camcorder battery plates to put on the back here as well. So that's from a third-party manufacturer called Nebtech. So that's good to know as well. So getting back to here, now there's no real sort of big on or off button here on the side. There's a little button underneath the power on switch. When I turn it on, you'll see it'll come up with industry color bars as it's loading up. Now I've got this hooked up to the Sony FS700 at the moment, and you'll see it probably takes a good like 10 to 15 seconds for this to actually fire up and then recognize the input that I've got in here, which is going into the SDI A input. So I'll just wait for the unit to fire up. Now this is one of the things I would like to see improved. This is a little bit slow, I find, firing up and coming up with a signal. You'll see how long that took from the time I turned it on until I got a picture to come up. Now it's just detecting the SSDs. So it's mounted one. I've got a second one here. So again, I'll just show you how it just sits in the top. We'll just slide it in. Make sure you press it all the way down. Now it's detecting that SSD. It's going to take about 14 seconds. It's just looking at it, making sure everything's okay on that SSD. And we'll see now it's almost done. So it's reinitiating that SSD. Now this is another thing that you want. You want to make sure that that they're initiated correctly. Also, while I'm on this topic here with the SSDs, you need to format them. So we'll just have a look at. So you need to format the SSDs on the device currently. You can't do it on a computer, so just remember that. Now everything is touchscreen. There's no real physical. There's only a couple of tiny physical buttons here on the side. One to lock the screen. So if I press that, it'll say screen lock, so now I can't press anything. Press F1 function key, it'll say to unlock. It gives you all these clever little guides if you need to work out how to do something. So now I've unlocked the screen, and I can lock it again. The other one here is this F2 button. If I press that, this is to power down the unit. So if I press OK, it will power down the unit properly. If it ever gets stuck or anything like that, you can obviously just pull the power out. The SSDs are protected, and you can rebuild them if there's any problems. So I'll just get rid of that. So everything is touchscreen. It's very easy to use. So I'll just go through all the functions quickly one by one. So up here you've got like a settings menu. So I press this. You've got Odyssey, setup, record, inputs and outputs. So if I click on the Odyssey, it's got set, SSDs and about. So if I go to set, you've got the different things here. So activation is the unit. So then it depends on whether I've got what I want on here. So FS700, Canon, ARRI, RAW, HD, multi-stream. Now the unit itself, it's already been activated. When you first get this your Odyssey 7Q, you need to actually physically register it, and that'll allow the unit to work. It's very important for firmware and stuff in the future. I go down to FS700 RAW, and that's active because it's active on this particular device. It's got the Codecs implementation in there. If I go to something like Canon RAW, you'll see here up comes my screen. So if I was to rent this particular codec or buy it outright, I'd get an activation code. I would then just type in the activation code using this and press enter, and then it would be activated straight away. So very clever. I'll just cancel, get back out of that, go back in. You'll see there's Canon RAW, ARRI RAW, HD 2K RAW, and the multi-stream, which is to record the 4 SDI signals. Well, not to display them currently, 4 HD SDI signals, and in the future you will be able to record them with a paid firmware upgrade. If we go back into these ones, time, obviously this is the way to set your time, to set your date, and then there's a reset button there to reset the device. Setup here, you've got monitor record, so the monitor is set up to record. Record here, trigger, clip and project. So trigger, so it's either the record button, so it's on camera at the moment, so it's set up for most cameras. It'll record using your when your button on, and there's more support for future cameras, and particularly some of the older cameras coming shortly too. If you put it onto record button, you'll see you now get a record button up there, so I could manually start recording if I wanted to use this. For instance, if I took this device where I needed to get some vision from somebody, or was recording a feed or anything like that, then I can just record straight to that. So I'll just put it back on camera. Then we've got clip, so you can name your clips here, call it whatever you want, so that then they'll subsequently go in order. Also your project frame rate, so it's got follows input, so obviously if I'm recording say 24p and I want 24p, that's what that'll do, or I can record all these different inputs depending on what's coming in. Now I don't know if these will currently work because there's no pull down supported, so I'd have to check with Convergent Design whether you change this, if it would actually work. I think probably not. It might actually just default back currently at the moment. So we'll go off record, then we've got inputs, audio, channels. So there's 2 channels. Just go back, sorry again. Whoops. So currently there's only got support to record 2 channels of audio coming in. That will change to more in the future. Time code, source, whoops, sorry. Time code, so you've got the choice of LTC, record run if you want to, or SDI, so it'll follow the SDI time code that's coming off your camera. Sorry, go back again. Video scan, progressive or interlaced. So there you go. Then we'll go to outputs. So you've got record tally is on or off. So that's for the output. I don't really want to record the record tally. If I turn that off or on, and then there's legalized is off or on, which is the outputs that are coming out of here, whether you want to make a raw signal suddenly go back to say Rec 709 output. I'm not sure if that's currently working yet. I haven't tested that. Okay, so we get out of those ones. You'll see it's got all these sub-menus. Now, if I click on this one here, now this is a system status. Like, I really like this. It's something you don't see on a lot of devices here. So it'll give you your volts, so your input voltage coming in, the power that's coming into the device, and also the temperature here. It says plus 37 degrees. This is in Celsius, of course. Now, if it gets over 60 degrees Celsius, which it says here, it actually won't allow. It's actually quite smart. It won't let you record anymore if it gets over a certain time, which is handy because it'll tell you that it's too hot and you could potentially be running into problems. You've got your time and your date up on there, and then it'll tell you about your firmware, the serial number, your warranty, what keys are activated. So on here it says basic FS700 raw, and it'll tell you how long it's been powered for and how much it's been recording to, if you haven't reset that. So the next one along, we go here. This is your input status. So this box here will tell you your frame rate and your codec as such. So it's 25 frames per second, 2K raw that's up there at the moment. So it's SDIA, which is what's coming in through the bottom here. 25 frames per second, 2K raw. SDIB, if you were doing dual link, would tell you what was coming in through there. So it's obviously telling us it's single link 3G, and it's going to record FS700 12-bit linear raw at 25 frames per second. And your output status, it's going to say it's going to output 2K at 25 frames per second in 422, and it's going to output on the B one as well, 422, 25 frames per second, 2K. So that's good to see all those. The next one up here, it's telling me what I'm recording. So I'm recording FS700 RAW. So it's record status, ready to record. Type Sony FS700 RAW. Capture 25 frames per second. Project's going to be 25 frames per second. It's going to be a 12-bit 2K RAW. Now this will change depending on what I put in there. If I want to do the high-speed frame rates with the Sony, for instance, I'll get that to come up. Camera trigger. So it's just going to say camera trigger. Camera sends record signal. For record status, touch the codec box. So it's telling me what I'm recording, and it's saying that my camera trigger is going to record, is going to start this device. Up here, in these next two, there's three boxes here. These two either side you see have got times. That's your SSD1 and your SSD2. It's saying currently, if I'm recording 25 frames per second 2K RAW, I'm going to get 49 minutes from each drive. Yeah, so that's real handy, and that of course will change depending on my frame rates or what I'm inputting. So we'll get rid of that. This one here, very clever, little eject button, safe eject for the SSDs. I can eject one or two or both of them at the same time. Nice feature. The record play, so if I tally between those two, that's basically whether it's in record mode or playback mode. So it's now in playback mode. So if I go to playlist, you'll see there's clips here. They're on here, so I can actually click and go down between them. I can actually loop. I can loop all of them. I can just loop some of them. I can then press play on here, and we'll have to wait till it comes back up. It takes a little bit of time, and I'm not sure why that didn't do that. Why did not play? So there we go, there's the, sorry, didn't have it activated. So now it's playing back the clip that I had there. So if I go back to the playlist, no, it's going to keep going, it's going to stop. It's only a quick clip. And once it comes back up, there we go. That's how you can actually play the things. Now it's a little bit, I would have liked a little bit more integration on this perhaps, where you could pause and fast forward and stuff on the screen. You don't seem to be able to do that, which is a little bit of a pain, but I'll live with that. So if we take that back off, we're straight back into the record option. Of course, to activate any of these, you can they'll stay on the screen until you touch them and then they go off. Over here, We've got the ability to change all these things, our clip, our reel, our scene, our take, our day, our camera, our project. So you can actually put all this metadata in there, which is really handy as well. It's just a simple case of clicking on there and then you can call it whatever you want. Very handy. Over here will be your last take. We don't have it on here at the moment, but it'll tell you what your last take was, which is easy, very, very good for coming back and reviewing material. Back over here, we go to the brightness controls for this is the OLED monitor settings. So you've got your brightness and contrast. Now they're factory set. Oops, sorry, let's go back. They're factory set at 50%. You can increase those up. You can change the backlight to either DCI3 or Rec 709 on there. Let's go back again, and then the color gamut. You can change between Rec 709 and DCI P3. Frame guides you can set up. Press and hold monitor below for options. So here we go, I just hold onto it. Now I can set the frame, it's at 2.39 to 1 here. I can put these nice guides up, which is good. Another thing I'd like to see implemented in the future would be good too, if you can have some way of when you put these frame guides up of actually opacing or blacking out the rest of your scene, so you can just see that'd be very handy for some cameras. Now here, this is where it'll apply LUT. Now this is where your LUT selection. Now this is something that's coming down the track in the future, where you'll be able to input LUTs in there, so you'll be able to actually look at them on your display, or you'll be able to set them to your output, or you'll also be able to even set the LUTs for various different cameras that will come from manufacturers to record straight onto your device. So if you want to have a baked in look, for instance. So that's something that's coming. So the focus here, if I put it on, press it here, you'll see you're getting the green outlines coming up as the focus assist. If I double tap on it again, you've got all these settings. So if I want to change it to high, you can see what it's doing there. Take it off, it's on the high setting. Hold it down again. If I want to have it pulse, I can have it on there. You'll see it pulsing. That's really nice. It's a quick way to grab your attention and know it's in focus. You can turn that off. I can go back here, I can change the color if I want to, blue, red, or green. I'll leave it on green for the time being. You can go to edge only, so you're getting a nice little, you'll see here the edge only setting on it. Again, edge enhanced, of course. So I take that off, there you go. Nice little, you know exactly what's in focus in that picture. I really like that. I'll take it off. Zoom, so this is great, you've got one-to-one. You can double tap the screen here on the thing so you can have the 2 times on. Take that off, so now it's on 2 times, 2-to-1 pixel zoom. If I press it again, get the 2-to-1, hold it down on the screen, they get back to 1-to-1. Turn off, another really nice feature, I like that. This is telling you your timecode input that's coming from the FS700 in my instance for now. Great false color, another one that I really like. I love false colors. You can change it on there again. You can change all the parameters of what level they're coming in. So if you want to set yours at a particular way, you can. Really nice. Take that off. Zebras, of course, you've got your zebras. Hold it down again. I can change my zebra threshold depending on the type of codec or camera I'm using and what I like to have mine set at. Take that off. Waveform Monitor. Really nice, comes up there. Again, touch it down. If I want to make it full screen, just click off there. There you go, there's the full screen. On the Waveform Monitor, I can obviously have it on luminance as well, or on red, green, or blue. Take the full screen off, get rid of it completely. Histogram, there you go, I've got that set. Again, that's been set on full screen. If I want to make it small, I can bring it over there. Again, blue, green, red, RGB parade, or luminance, really nice. Take that off. And then the last one here is hide, which is good, hides all the display. You don't have to go back and press any sort of button. Any touch on the screen anywhere will bring that back on. So really nice, I like that particular one as well. So let's have a look at the inputs that are down here as well on the actual camera. Of course, we've got your power input that we talked about previously before. You've got your SDI A and B inputs, which are B and C connectors for 3G SDI inputs. Then you've got your LTC in and out, so that's a linear timecode in and out, a really handy feature. Then you've got your SDI A and B IOs here. So these are really cool because these are bidirectional 3G SDI ports. So when you're using the multi-stream monitoring mode and you need to accept up to 4 inputs, you use these 2 inputs and you use these 2 inputs here so that you can then monitor the 4 signals at once that are coming into the device. There's an HDMI port under here too, which is an HDMI 1.4 input for importing any type of HDMI device. Then we go over here, you've got your SDI, 3G SDI outputs, A and B output here. Then there's an audio in, so if you want to record some audio analog, for instance, this is a 3.5mm stereo jack to record audio in. Now this currently isn't enabled, but there will be a future free firmware upgrade that will enable this. And then you've got an audio out, which is a 3.5mm stereo jack as well for headphone monitoring. So that's pretty much it as far as it goes. Over here on the side, there's a remote port here. Now the remote port is for it'll be a future free firmware upgrade again. It'll allow full interface control for functions of the Odyssey 7Q. There's also a little rectangular hole here, RMT port, which will accept the Kensington security lock. So something else they've thought about and put in there. There's an HDMI out to output to an HDMI compatible device, another handy feature. And there's a USB servicing point up here, so future firmware upgrade will allow you to use to do your firmware upgrades, funnily enough, through this port. Now, as far as mounting goes, the Odyssey 7Q has 3 ⅛20s. There's one each on both sides and one on the back here, as well as there's 6 M3 threaded sockets, 4 on the rear of the case and 2 each on the left and right hand sides of the device for other mounting options. Now, what I forgot to mention earlier is there will be an Android iPhone, an iOS Android app coming soon, so you'll be able to control all your functionality from a tablet or an iPhone or an Android phone, for instance. So that'll be real handy when you've got this on, up on a jib, or you've got an AC who wants to control the functions. They'll be able to do it via that, which is another cool option. Just one more thing I forgot to tell you too, if we go back into the settings menu for the activation. So when you're doing the multi-stream, which this device will be able to record eventually like 4 streams of HD, at the moment it'll only be able to, it can monitor it, but it can't record it. Down here you've got your multi-stream, so you have to activate it. Now those 4 streams that come in, they don't have to be, the frame rates don't have to match. So you can have 4 different cameras with different frame rates going in and be able to record them, which is another really handy thing. Now, I was tossing up whether to go into some more depth in terms of the workflow from your recorded media and some examples of what it looks like, but because there's so many different codecs and so many different cameras this can be used with, and so many different NLE programs, just me doing it on one is really not going to help you out if you're looking at a variety of different cameras. So I'm going to leave that for other people to do. So there's plenty of vision out there at the moment, and there's going to continue to be more vision coming out that's been recorded to this device. All I can say is that I have tested it out with a variety of cameras that I own, and I'm very happy with the results. It does exactly what it says it does, and that's as much as you can ask. So there you go, there's a pretty in-depth look at the Convergent Design Odyssey 7Q. Now, I apologise if I got any of that information incorrect. There's an awful lot to go through, so I'm happy to be corrected if somebody finds some mistakes. Just let me know. Now, in summing up the Odyssey 7Q, the things I love about it, first and foremost, it's a terrific OLED monitor. If you're out there and you're looking for a monitor, this is right up there with the best of them, and I think it's very impressive with all the features it has. But it's also a fantastic external recorder. The ability to be able to record high frame rates in RAW and all the different codecs by renting or purchasing is great. It can run up a little bit pricey depending on what you're going to be using with it, but really for what else is out there on the market, there's nothing that comes close in terms of versatility for the price. As an external recorder, I love the functionality. It will be a lot better, I think, once there's the compressed codecs are implemented in here. I think it'll make it a much more handy device for the masses as opposed to just a few people who maybe will be recording you know, the high-end RAW, because it's still, the workflow is still a bit of a pain going to RAW, as we all know. The build quality is fantastic. The integration ease of use is superb. I really haven't had too many problems with the unit. It's very stable. It sort of does what it says, and it's feature ridden. It's got so many features in there, which makes it an impressive unit. Now, my only downsides, maybe particularly for this unit, is that, you know, the SSDs. Trying to take them out, it's a little bit tricky. I would have preferred to see a little latch on here to be able to eject them. For some people, they may well find that this is the monitor may be a little bit too big if you're mounting it on a particular camera. If you're doing news documentary work, for instance, or whatever, it is quite big and it could get knocked around. There is a sun hood coming, which should be interesting to see how that works. I'm a bit worried about that though, because everything's touch screen, so if you had the sunscreen on, you'd have to use their app, their iPhone or Android app that is coming as well. What else can I say? Well, the Convergent Design, really good at getting back to you if you've got problems or you need information. During the entire time of me conducting this review, I've been able to send in emails and I get responses back very quickly, just to clarify information. So the customer support and the customer service is there, which is really good. You're not going to get left in the lurch. It is going to become a lot easier too to rent or buy the codecs. You'll be able to do it online. I really like that. And of course, they're always bringing out firmware, and this product is going to continue to evolve, I should say, with a lot more firmware coming out that's going to change a lot of things and really help out the end user. So they're listening to feedback, so if you have one and you'd like something integrated or whatever, you know, get in touch with Convergent Design. But all in all, I think it's a fantastic unit and you really can't go wrong.